Welcome to the Drowsy Engineer's Blueprint. It's good to have you here. If you're easing into rest after a long day of thinking, building, or simply being human, you're in the right place. This is a gentle place where ideas are quiet and even the most complex structures take a moment to soften at the edges. Tonight, we're not crunching numbers or racing through diagrams. Instead, we're refloating into the world of bridges, the kind that hum in the wind and stretch through moonlight like steel ribbons. You'll hear stories of tension and balance, of windswept cables, and lessons learned from the air itself. If the story gently carries you off to sleep before we reach the end, then it's done its job. And if it keeps your mind quietly curious for just a little while longer, well, there's a kind of peace in that too. If this calm corner brings you comfort, I'd love it if you gave a soft tap on the like button, subscribed, or shared where you were listening from, and maybe the time of night in your part of the world. So now, let the day settle behind you like scaffolding folded away. Let your breath find a slower rhythm. And let's begin. There's a river, still and slow. It glides beneath a sleepy mist. Its surface barely moves, only a ripple now and then, like a dream shifting under its covers. And high above this quiet water, a bridge stretches between two hills, drawn in silver lines across the sky. It doesn't shout, it doesn't roar, it hums. Like a distant song on the edge of hearing. Like wind brushing through harp strings stretched across a valley. Suspension bridges, you see, don't resist the world, they dance with it. While older bridges push back against gravity with brute strength, the suspension bridge whispers, "Let me hold the load like a breath held softly." Let's imagine this bridge now together. Its towers, tall and slender like watchful giants, rising into twilight. Its cables, draped in perfect arcs, cradling the road like threads of silk supporting a cradle. And below, the river reflects the entire structure in perfect, rippling symmetry. These cables, do you feel them? Even in thought, they have tension. But by holding on, engineers call this tensile strength, a material's ability to pull, to stretch, to bear the load not by pressing down. The towers, in contrast, feel the compression, pushing downward, bearing the weight through vertical might. Together, cable and tower sing in structural harmony, tension and compression, opposites, partners, keeping the road suspended in balance. In every great suspension bridge, the song is silent but sure. The wind, however, sometimes plays its own notes. But let's not rush. Let's linger a while longer with the gentle hum of this sleeping bridge. Notice the lights along its edge, tiny amber dots blinking into the fog, each light a quiet promise of guidance. Each lamppost gently anchored to the deck, swaying ever so slightly with the breath of the breeze. And now, imagine yourself walking across it. The night is cool. The air is clean. With each step, the metal underfoot softly echoes, a gentle clink, like tuning forks under your solace. You pause halfway, resting your hands on the cold, smooth railing. Far below, the river sighs and the bridge hums. This hum isn't just romantic poetry, it's real. Engineers call it aeroelastic response, the way structures, particular long, thin ones, interact with wind. You see, the bridge is not deaf. It hears the wind. It doesn't defy it, it listens. And if tuned just right or just wrong, the wind can make it sing. We've all heard wind in wires, in window cracks, across bottlenecks. That sound is resonance. The wind finds the structure as natural frequency, the rhythm it most easily moves with, and pushes just a little again and again. Like a gentle hand nudging a swing. One nudge, then another. The structure starts to move, and if nothing dampens it, it moves more and more until motion becomes melody and then danger. That, dear listener, is where our story will drift next. To a bridge with a name and a lesson, to a rhythm too perfect. to a dance that went too far, but not yet. Stay here a little longer, suspended. Let your breath settle. Let your limbs feel light like steel held aloft by cables in the fog. It's just beginning to sing. The night is only just beginning. And the wind? Let's journey now to a quiet room. Not large, not loud, but long and smooth like the barrel of a flute. This is a wind tunnel, not the kind that blows hair wildly like in movies. No, this one whispers. Its fans, tucked away behind walls, pull air gently through narrow corridors, coaxing it forward in perfectly laminar streams, silky, straight, unbroken. At the center of this chamber, a bridge. Well, not quite, a model of a bridge. Scaled down, maybe 1/50th the size, suspended on slender rods, its tiny deck floating like a leaf on air. This room is quiet but alert. Engineers in soft coats lean over glowing monitors, watching as smoke trails drift across the miniature towers. The smoke curls, dances, splits, every swirl, a signal. Every ripple, a whisper from the air. They're watching for vortex shedding. That's when air flows around a structure and detaches in a rhythmic pattern, creating alternating low-pressure zones that can cause the bridge to sway or twist. It's not always visible, but in this tunnel, with the help of smoke and lasers, the invisible becomes poetry. Imagine standing here beside them. You can smell the metal, feel the soft hum of fans in your chest. And as the air flows, you see it, the model bridge trembles, just slightly. As if it too is alive, engineers measure everything. Sensors hidden inside the bridge detect motion, even the tiniest shake, no more than the width of a strand of hair. High-speed cameras capture movement frame by frame, watching for signs of flutter, the dangerous dance that brought down galloping Gertie. It's delicate work, gentle, patient. This is where ideas are tested, where shapes are sculpted not with chisels, but with pressure differentials and airflow patterns. Engineers don't force their will upon the air. They listen to it, learn its preferences, and redesign accordingly. Some bridges are given openings in the deck, gaps where wind can pass through instead of around. Others are given aerodynamic fairings, little curved shapes underneath that guide air like the hull of a ship parts water. Some even receive tuned mass dampers, large weights placed high in towers, swinging opposite to unwanted motion like a sleeping giant balancing the dream. These aren't gimmicks, they're conversations, because every bridge is a negotiation. Between the pull of gravity and the push of the wind, between steel's desire to stay still and the air's longing to move. Now, let's step closer to one of the monitors. We see graphs, lines, numbers, but we also see stories. There's a dip where a cable relaxed, a spike where the wind caught an edge, a plateau where harmony was found, no movement, no stress. Just stillness, that's the goal, not silence, but stability. A bridge that sings softly, in tune with its surroundings. Let me tell you something lovely now. Every suspension bridge has a frequency, a natural rhythm, just like a violin string. If you pluck it or blow on it with wind, it resonates. For short bridges, that tone is low and heavy. For long bridges, high and ethereal. You might not hear it with your ears, but your body does. You feel it in your bones when you walk across, a strange lightness, or sway, a rhythm underfoot, like walking across a sleeping creature's spine. And in the wind tunnel, that rhythm is studied, mapped, respected. It's why, these days, modern bridges don't collapse from resonance. They're not made to fight the wind, they're tuned like instruments. So now, let's return one last time to our model bridge, drifting in the tunnel's breath. The smoke trails are calm, the sensors quiet, no excessive vibration. The shape has found its peace with the wind, a bridge design born not of brute force, but of listening. And as we dim the lights and close the chamber doors, the engineers smile softly, They've heard the song of the wind and shaped the bridge to sing along. Next, we'll step into the heart of a real bridge, the cables, the anchors, the balance between tension and compression, and the materials that hold us up across great distances. But before we go there, take a breath with me. Inhale slowly, exhale gently. You are safe, you are suspended, and the wind is singing only to you. Let's journey now from the breath of air in the tunnel to the deep, silent strength of cables stretched through mist and time. Imagine standing at the base of a suspension bridge's tower. Steel rises above you, not cold and sharp, but graceful, like a ribbon of night painted with moonlight. And from the top of that tower flows a cable, thick, coiled, bound by thousands of tiny wires wound together like the threads of a dream. You tilt your head and follow it up and up until it arches like a quiet bow across the sky, holding the bridge deck beneath it like a cradle in space. These are main cables, the lifelines of the suspension bridge. But here's the beautiful part. Each of these immense cables, some as thick as a tree trunk, eyes in single strand, it's thousands. Tiny wires, no thicker than a pencil lid, wrapped and wrapped again, each one alone, fragile, together, strong enough to hold a city street in the air. This is the principle of bundled strength, a lesson from nature echoed in engineering. Just as a single strand of grass can snap, but a woven braid holds firm, steel wires united resist the forces of gravity, wind, and time. Feel that? Not just the weight of steel, but the weight of meaning. That strength can come from smallness multiplied, from quiet unity. Now let's walk beneath the cables. Do you hear them? In the wind, they murmur, not with words, but with tension, a low vibration, a song always held. These cables are in tension, they are being pulled. Their job isn't to press down, but to resist being pulled apart. And they do it beautifully. Each cable connects to hangers, smaller vertical wires or rods that support the bridge deck beneath, like a hammock hung between two trees. And where do these enormous cables end? They don't just dangle. They anchor, buried deep into massive anchor blocks of reinforced concrete, often hidden in hillsides or beneath soil. They disappear underground like roots of a tree, holding, quietly, forever. The anchor block doesn't move. It doesn't vibrate. It doesn't sing, but it listens. It receives the force of the tension, translating all that stretching energy into calm, silent stillness beneath the earth. It reminds us that in every system, some parts move, sing, dance in the wind, while others are still silent and uncheckable. Both are essential. Both are beautiful. Let's return now to the deck, the part we walk on. You place your foot softly on the concrete surface. It gives slightly, not because it's weak, but because it's alive. It flexes, not dangerously, but responsively. The bridge doesn't fight the forces around it. It absorbs them, transfers them, balances them. Each part plays a role. The main cables hold up the weight. The hangers carry the deck. The towers compress and push downward. The anchors hold everything in place, and the deck carries us. As you walk along the center of the span, you're walking on something that was once unthinkable. To stretch a road not over earth but air, and yet here it is, held by cables, tested by wind, shaped by time, and dreamed by engineers. In the night breeze, you pause. You place your hand on the railing again. It's cool, smooth. You feel the faintest vibration like a cat purring deep inside steel. The hum, that's tension, not fear, not stress, but strength, hold tight and sure. So next time you cross a bridge like this, the Golden Gate, the Akashi Keikyo, the Humber, the Brooklyn, know that beneath your wheels and steps are threads that hold the sky, silent, elegant, always listening. Now rest a moment. Feel your breath stretch, then release. Tension, compression, release. Next, we'll drift into the aerodynamic shapes of bridge decks, how engineers sculpt concrete and steel not just for cars, but for the sky to flow through. But for now, close your eyes if they're not already. You're suspended. In perfect balance. Let's float now beneath the bridge. Imagine drifting just a few meters below the deck, like a feather carried on the wind. Look up. There, the underside of the bridge, where few ever glance, is smooth, curved, sculpted, not accidental, not forgotten, but shaped for the sky. You see, modern bridges are not just built for people and vehicles. They're shaped for the wind. Just like a bird's wing cuts through air, just like a sail catches the breeze and not the storm, a bridge must learn how to be aerodynamic. Let's pause. Let your eyes gently trace the lines of the bridge's underbelly, sometimes rounded, sometimes sharpened, sometimes segmented like the belly of a fish. These forms aren't decoration. They're protection. After Gertie fell, engineers began asking new questions. What happens when wind doesn't pass around the bridge? What if it lingers? What if it builds? Wind doesn't always arrive as a single gust. Sometimes it flows like music, with rhythm, with cycles, with invisible harmonies, and the shapes of the bridge decide what kind of song is played. So they tested. In wind tunnels, they built models with flat decks, and then curved ones, then hollow ones, then decks with slits and grates, places for air to pass through rather than be pushed around. Each shape told a story. Some sang too loudly, unstable, unpredictable. Others sang just right, calm, harmonic, still. The engineers took notes, not just on vibration, but on how the wind flowed. Like watching water over stone, where it eddied, where it clung, where it danced. That's how the aerodynamic box girder was born. A hollow shape, like a strong, sealed box, designed not just for strength, but for air to slip around like moonlight sliding across silk. And then came graded decks, used in narrow bridges where weight must be saved, but the wind is strong. Air passes through the floor. It whistles, it whispers. It does not shout. Some bridges even have fairings, small wings, not unlike the fins on an airplane, placed just below the deck, angled delicately to redirect the flow of wind away from danger and into calm. You may not see them as you cross, but they're there. Quiet guardians, turning chaos into stillness. Let's imagine something now. You're standing on the deck of the bridge. The night wind picks up. A soft gust at first, then steadier. You feel it against your cheeks, brushing past your collar. Below, the wind flows beneath the sculpted edge of the deck. It slides under and around. With grace, nothing shakes, nothing trembles. Because the bridge isn't resisting the wind, it's shaped to understand it, to receive it, to guide it, like a deep breath through parted lips. Let me share a secret. Sometimes silence is designed. That moment when you feel calm in a space, that peace is often engineered. Engineers call it aerodynamic stability, but you might just call it serenity. It's why long bridges today don't gallop. They float. They breathe. They sing, yes, but in harmony with the elements, not in protest of them. So as you drift now, your thoughts light and slow. Picture a bridge stretching into the mist. Its deck shaped like a wing. Its towers tall and quiet. Its cables humming in balance. And the air, not blocked, not bent, but welcomed. That's the beauty of engineering, not only building across space, but designing with invisible forces in mind. Wind, time, gravity, breath, and all of it held in perfect form. Next, we'll climb to the top of the tower to feel the view, the movement, and the way a bridge speaks to the sky. But for now, let your breathing soften. Let your body feel light, sculpted, still, and drift. Like air, Now let us climb. Rising slowly, step by step, into the hush of the night sky, we ascend not with speed, but with care, as though each stair were an invitation and each landing a breath. We are climbing the tower of a suspension bridge, one of two or more that rise like sentinels at either end of the span, tall, slender, watching. At the top, the air is crisp, quiet. Only the wind speaks now, wrapping gently around steel beams and whispering stories older than cities. These towers don't just hold up the cables. They are compression giants, built to resist the downward force of the bridge's own weight and to transmit those forces deep into their foundations, usually piles driven into bedrock below the river. Imagine the feeling of standing on top. Below, the world is hushed. Vehicles move like tiny toys. The river glimmers still and vast, and from the center of the tower, a cable curves out in both directions, draping like silk across the dark, connecting one horizon to another. At this height, even the bridge hum feels quieter, like being in a bell tower after the ringing has stopped. You see, suspension bridge towers are not meant to move. Unlike the cables that flex and adjust, these vertical giants are built to anchor the movement, to receive it, and to return stability. Yet, they do move, just a little. When the wind is strong, when the deck sways far below, the towers respond, flexing slightly, like long tree trunks in a slow breeze. Not with panic, but with grace. Some modern bridges have sensors installed at the tops of their towers. Tiny instruments that measure sway, vibration, even tilt, feeding data back to control rooms or research centers. And sometimes, engineers climb to those very tops to check bolts, welds, or simply to listen. Let's pause here. Let the view surround you. Breathe the air above the fog. Feel the thinness of it. Feel how still it is, not because there is no wind, but because the structure itself has been taught how to dance with it. Let's talk now about materials. Not all bridge towers are steel. Some are concrete, poured layer by layer, reinforced with rebar, and shaped into solid pillars. Concrete resists compression beautifully. It doesn't buckle. It doesn't twist. It holds. Other towers are lattice steel, open frameworks that let wind pass through and reduce pressure from crosswinds. These are lighter, often faster to build, but require intricate maintenance, careful protection from rust and time. In either case, the tower is not just a support. It's a transition point, a place where tension becomes compression, where the pull of the cable becomes the press of the tower, which becomes the push into the earth. It is where motion meets stillness. Let's imagine standing between those two forces, hands resting on the railing, wind brushing your cheeks. Above you, the cable pulls. Below you, the tower resists. And in between, you are suspended. This, too, is a metaphor for design. In every bridge, and perhaps in every life, there must be a place where energy transforms, where force is redirected, where something strong stands still, so something else may move freely. Now, let's look beyond the structure. You see the other tower in the distance. Its blinking red light in the night, a twin, a partner, holding the far side of the same weight. No single tower carries the burden alone. They share it evenly, constantly, and between them stretches the road, the deck, the breadth of the bridge. Together, they create more than structure. They create space. Usable, walkable, passable space suspended over nothingness. That is the quiet miracle of the suspension bridge. Next, we'll explore what lives beneath the deck, expansion joints, trusses, and dampers, the hidden systems that keep movement gentle and strength silent. But for now, stand a while longer at the top of the tower. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts float like mist between cables. And feel how everything is connected. Beneath every smooth road, beneath the paint lines and rumble of tires, there are silent systems at work. Moving, flexing, absorbing, so you don't have to feel a thing. Let's lie down for a moment, not on the road, but beneath it. Gaze upward, not at stars, but steel. We're under the deck of a suspension bridge, and here is where some of the most elegant details hide. At first, it's all shadows and crossbeams, a kind of steel skeleton, crisscrossed with lines and layers like the inside of a whale's ribcage. But as your eyes adjust, you begin to notice the subtle movements, tiny shifts, almost imperceptible. Yet they matter, because bridges don't stay still, not really. They expand and contract with temperature, shift gently with the weight of traffic, and breathe with the breeze. To manage all this quiet motion, engineers build in expansion joints. Picture a carefully placed gap between two concrete slabs, not a flaw, but an intention. A space that allows the bridge to grow when it's hot and shrink again when the chill returns. These joints are often filled with sliding metal teeth, rubber seals, or telescoping plates, designed to let the road move without cracking. Imagine that, a break in the surface, that actually holds everything together. Nearby, you'll find bearings, not like wheels, but like cushions. They sit beneath the deck, allowing controlled, graceful movement in response to load and sway. They come in many forms. Some rotate, some glide, some compress like rubber solace. Their job? To give a little, just enough to keep the rest from giving too much. Now look deeper. You'll find trusses, strong geometric patterns made of interconnected triangles. Triangles are sacred in engineering, the most stable shape. You can bend a square. You can twist a rectangle, but a triangle holds. These trusses support the bridge deck from below, spreading weight, absorbing stress, and allowing the deck to span further without sagging. In some bridges, especially older ones, the trusses are visible from the side, those elegant X's and diagonals that seem decorative but are anything but. They're whispers of logic, silent strength, and sometimes you'll find something else. Hidden deep in the structure, you may find a tuned mass damper designed to move opposite the bridge's sway. A suspended weight, shifting just enough, like a counterbalance, like a calm friend to bring the room back into stillness. These dampers can be large blocks of steel or dense materials encased in moving housings. Some hang vertically, others slide along rails. They don't stop motion, they listen to it and then reply. Their rhythm is always opposite, not to fight, but to balance. Imagine them as bridge lullabies in motion, swaying when the bridge sways, always whispering, "I've got you," tucked in corners and maintenance walkways. It's okay. And finally, temperature, strain, vibration. You may see sensors, tiny devices tracking movement. These are the bridge's nerves. Beneath the road we travel, they feed data back to operators and engineers, ensuring the bridge speaks, even in silence. If something is wrong, the bridge will say so, not with words, but with numbers. And so, we'll look at the life cycle of a bridge as a world of care, not just brute strength, but responsive design. Not just rigid support, but systems built to adapt on trusses, on thoughtful design, to flex, to whisper, "I am here, I am ready." Rest easy, care and restoration. Next, how it's inspected, maintained, and sometimes retired. How even great structures need sleep, but for now, close your eyes to the beams above. Let the weight of the world rest not on your shoulders, but on bearings, and let yourself be held. Every structure has a rhythm, a life, a quiet heartbeat known only to the engineers who care for it. Bridges, too, grow old. They are born with blueprints. They stand for decades. And eventually, they either sleep peacefully in retirement or are gracefully rebuilt. Let's visit now a bridge in its later years. Not broken, not forgotten, just weathered. The paint is fading. The deck carries the weight of a million crossings. Tiny flakes of rust hide in corners where the rain gathers, and the bearings creak slightly in the cold. But the bridge still stands. And that is because someone is listening. Let's walk quietly along its maintenance path. You'll see them, engineers in safety harnesses, clipped gently to the rail, carrying notebooks, tablets, thermal cameras. They don't come with noise or haste. They come with care. They check the tension in cables, the alignment of joints, the movement of expansion plates. They run their fingers along weld seams, look for hairline cracks in steel, tap gently with hammers, listening for hollow sounds. Each bridge inspection is like a gentle checkup, a physical for a giant. Some bridges are watched from afar. They have permanent monitoring systems, strain gauges, motion sensors, temperature probes. Others are touched by hand. Up close, personal. Even drones help now, hovering beneath spans, capturing close-up views of places once too dangerous to reach. When something is found, a crack, a misalignment, a sag, it doesn't mean danger. It means response. Crews are dispatched. Repairs are made. Sections are replaced. And the bridge exhales, grateful, silent. Let's pause here and consider fatigue, not the kind we feel after a long day, but the kind that steel feels after millions of cycles of stress. Tiny movements, over years, can lead to weakening. Engineers know this. They study fatigue limits, plan for load cycles, design components to endure a lifetime of motion. But still, just like us, even strong bridges need rest, relief, reinforcement. Sometimes, new materials are added, carbon fiber wraps, steel plating, even polymer injections to seal microfractures in concrete. Think of it as mending fabric. A patch here, a stitch there, to preserve the soul of the structure. Some bridges are partially rebuilt, new decks, reinforced towers, modern cables. Some are retrofitted for earthquakes or wind, given new bearings, given new breath. Others are retired. Let me tell you something gentle. Not all endings are tragedies. When an old bridge is decommissioned, it is often remembered with reverence. Its parts recycled, its stories preserved. Sometimes a single span is left in place as a walking path, a quiet monument to what once connected cities, people, time. There is grace in that, and honoring the usefulness of something even after its prime. So when you cross an old bridge and the railings creak and the lights flicker and you feel a subtle bounce beneath your feet, know that it's alive, that it's being cared for, that it has seen the sun rise through fog more times than most of us ever will, and it still holds. Next, we'll wander the world, visiting the most iconic suspension bridges across countries and continents, and what makes each one sing in its own way. But for now, rest in the company of old steel and softened concrete. Let your thoughts settle like dust in a quiet corner, and listen to time. Let's journey now, not by car or plane, but by thought. Slow, easy steps across the world's most famous suspension bridges. Each one a lullaby in steel. We arrive at the Golden Gate Bridge, first in San Francisco, its towers painted in warm international orange, rising from the fog like ancient guardians of the bay. It was completed in 1937, spanning over 2,700 meters. Once the longest suspension bridge in the world, it carries not just traffic, but emotion. A symbol of passage, of arrival, of quiet awe. The wind here hums softly as it slips through the cables, and the sea mist kisses your cheeks. We drift to Japan. You feel small, but safe. Next to the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge, the longest suspension span in the world. Almost 4 kilometers from one side to the other. Built to withstand earthquakes, typhoons, and time. Its deck dances gently with every breath of the sky, but never breaks rhythm. It connects Kobe to Awaji Island, a soft arc above deep blue, and it was built because a ferry route once failed. So a bridge was in its place, stronger, quieter, safer. Let us walk now to New York, to the Brooklyn Bridge, one of the oldest suspension bridges in the United States. It opened in 1883, and yet, spun by hand, it still carries life today. Its stone towers feel like castle gates. Its cables cross like harpstrings above your head. Walk across its wooden path at sunrise and listen to footsteps echo gently between the steel. It is a bridge, but also a memory of what human hands could do even before modern machines. We drift now to England, to the Clifton Suspension Bridge, soft with age, graceful over the Avon Gorge, designed by Assemblard Kingdom Brunel, an engineer who dreamed ahead of his time. Its towers rise from wooded cliffs like gentle giants. Its deck is narrow, but every stone sings with quiet dignity. Some nights, when the wind passes through the gorge, you can hear it, a sigh through the cables, a bridge remembering. Further still, we travel to Turkey, to the 1915 Nanakali Bridge, the longest span in the world as of today. A marvel of modern design, its red towers reflecting the deep history of the Dardanelles. Its cables were spun with robotic precision, its deck laid with millimeter care. And yet, as traffic flows across it, the bridge holds it all in silence, engineered not just for strength, but for stillness. Let's rest now beside the Humber Bridge in the UK. Opened in 1981, its span long, its towers slender. And it too had to learn the lessons of the wind. Its deck was shaped in wind tunnels. Its joints taught how to breathe. Its hum, barely noticeable, but there, nonetheless. Each bridge tells a story. Each span sings a slightly different note, but what unites them is not just steel or cable or concrete. It is connection. Each one crosses a challenge, a river, a gorge, a history. Each one is a solution to a problem whispered in wind and water. And each one holds not just cars, not just people, but trust. Engineers build with numbers, but they also build with listening. To the forces of nature, to the needs of people, to the silent wisdom of time. As you lie back now and think of these spans, you can almost feel the cables stretch across your mind, soft arcs holding you in midair, gently swaying in the dark. Next, we'll explore how bridges inspire, not just through utility, but through art, architecture, and imagination. But for now, rest in the knowledge that all across the world, bridges are humming, and they are holding. Close your eyes now, and picture a bridge in your imagination, not one you've seen in a city, but one that feels dreamlike. Perhaps its towers stretch not from land, but from clouds. Its cables shimmer like threads of silver rain. Its deck floats gently, never quite touching the earth. That's the beauty of bridges. They're not only structures, they're symbols. Symbols of connection, of balance, of possibility. And in that space between physics and feeling, bridges become something else. They become art. Walk with me through the pages of old sketchbooks. Early engineers were also artists. Leonardo da Vinci drew bridges with feathered lightness, suspended walkways that crossed imaginary rivers in ink and shadow. Even ancient civilizations carved miniature arch spans in clay and stone, not just to carry water or feet, but to express something, a kind of hope stretched across a challenge. The form of a bridge matters, its lines, its curves, the way it appears against the horizon. A suspension bridge is like a ribbon in the wind, soft in shape, yet firm in purpose. An arch bridge, with its perfect grounded curve, feels like a cradle for the earth itself. A cable-stayed bridge, with its sharp, geometric spokes radiating from a single tower, looks like a harp frozen in song. Designers don't only ask, will this hold? They also ask, how will this feel? How will it greet the sky? What story will it tell in silence? Consider the Millau Viaduct in France. Its piers rise from the valley mist like masts of a ship at sea. Designed by architect Norman Foster and engineer Michel Verlageau, it is both a marvel of math and a whispered poem. Or the Jiangyan Yangtze River Bridge in China, its golden towers framed by distant mountains, reflecting sunsets in streaks of flame and shadow. Even footbridges, tiny pedestrian-only crossings, carry beauty. Some are woven from rope. Some are shaped like waves. Some are barely more than curved planks. But each one a gesture of grace. There is rhythm in a bridge's proportions. Engineers use it to create calm. A tower that is too tall may feel overbearing. A span that is too long without suspension may sag, not just physically, but visually. Everything matters. Spacing, symmetry, silence. Some cities hold contests to design their bridges, not just for strength, but for emotion. What feeling does it evoke as you cross it at dusk? What memory does it create when lit at night? What shadow does it cast at sunrise? Because people remember bridges. They become part of the landscape of our minds. And yet, even the most beautiful design must always return to one truth. It must hold. And that's where the poetry deepens. Because every curve, every delicate touch is backed by equations, by load paths, by years of study and sleepless planning, and still, it looks effortless. That, perhaps, is the most elegant engineering of all, to create something that feels weightless while carrying the world. So next time you see a bridge, pause, look again. Not just at its size, but at its shape, its reflection, its intention. You may see trusses, but you'll feel rhythm. You may see towers, but you'll feel time. You may see a road, but you'll feel a ribbon between hearts. Next, we'll slow down into the future to imagine how bridges might evolve, with smart materials, responsive systems, and designs yet to be dreamed. But for now, let your mind wander through shadows and spans. Let cables become stars. Let towers become calm and rest in the space between form and feeling. Let us wander now, not across the finished span, but into the gentle sketch of what's yet to be built. The bridges of tomorrow aren't just stronger, they're smarter. Imagine this, a bridge that listens to itself, one that feels strain in real time, that can whisper to engineers when a joint is tired, when a cable needs rest, when a bolt has shifted by the width of a fingernail. This is the world of sensor-embedded infrastructure. Fiber optics weaved into concrete, accelerometers tucked into towers. GPS receivers so precise they can track movement smaller than a falling leaf. These aren't science fiction. They're quietly being installed already in new bridges and sometimes retrofitted into the old. These smart systems allow bridges to respond, not just endure, but adapt. If vibration increases, dampers activate. If traffic grows too heavy, warning lights blink. If an earthquake begins, the bridge can send signals, not just to engineers, but to cities. The bridge becomes a partner. Let's go further. Imagine materials that heal, concretes laced with bacteria that fill their own cracks, or polymers that reshape when warmed by the sun. Imagine bridges made from carbon fiber composites, lighter than steel, resistant to rust, and woven like fabric. Imagine modular bridges, printed in pieces and assembled on site, like giant origami unfolding over rivers. Some will float, some will retract, some will even be deployable, dropping into place after storms or earthquakes, providing safe crossings within hours. Then there are kinetic bridges, those that move, not just drawbridges or rotating spans, but flexible walkways that rise and fall with tides, breathe with foot traffic, or fold like petals in response to weather. Art, yes, but also engineering. Let's imagine now a bridge with solar panels and its guardrails, towering lights that gently glow only when someone walks nearby. Imagine the light following your steps like a guide in the dark, or a bridge with piezoelectric pads in its surface, converting your footsteps into energy, each one a soft click, a whisper of electricity returning to the grid. And beyond the bridge itself comes the experience, augmented reality overlays, guided tours through your phone, history woven into your stroll. You pause at a tower, look up, and see how the cables were spun a century ago or last year. The bridge speaks to you. It shows you its blueprint layered with moonlight, and perhaps one day, bridges will build themselves with autonomous machines, precise drones, and AI-powered fabricators. The spans of the future might be spun with no human hand on site, yet guided by thousands of hands that design the system. Still, the soul of the bridge will remain the same: to connect, to carry, to hold. The future will bring new shapes, new materials, new songs in the cables. But the feeling of walking across open air, of knowing someone made this possible, that feeling will never change. It will always feel like magic, because it is. It's just a magic made of math. Next, we'll close the journey with a soft walk across a fictional span, one dreamed only for you tonight. A bridge that doesn't exist, but maybe should. But for now, let your thoughts sway gently between towers. Let the breeze of what's next carry you softly, and rest in the quiet future of design. Close your eyes now, and let's build something that doesn't exist. Not yet. Not anywhere but here, in this quiet place between breath and sleep. Let's build a bridge. It begins at the edge of a mountain where pine trees whisper in the cold. The path is narrow, carved not by machines, but by time and soft footsteps. The bridge begins with a simple platform woven from dark wood and gentle steel. Its handrails are lined with warm brass, aged with fingerprints of those who have crossed before. It stretches out not across water, but across mist. A thick valley of fog rolls below, and the only thing you can see beyond the edge is the first set of towers, not sharp, not industrial, but carved like sculptures, rounded and smooth like driftwood. The main cable, it's made of interwoven threads of light and silver, not real material, but imagined strength, tension spun from memory and hope. And as the deck stretches outward, it glows faintly under your feet. Soft pulses of amber with each step, not too bright, but just enough to see. No traffic, no sound but the wind, and the low, resonant hum of the bridge singing to itself. There are no expansion joints here, no rivets, no inspection tags, because this bridge doesn't fatigue, it doesn't crack or strain. It adapts. When the wind blows, the entire span leans ever so slightly, like a long blade of grass. When the rain falls, it collects droplets in shallow basins, then lets them drip down the cables like music. Every few meters, there are resting spots, tiny alcoves with seating built into the sides, formed from curves and cushions of stone. A place to pause, to breathe, to look down into the fog, and wonder what lies below. Maybe it's a river. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a memory you forgot you had. As you walk, you notice the cables above begin to glow blue. Why? You're not sure. But it feels safe. A flock of birds crosses overhead, and their shadow falls across the span, not like darkness, but like a moving quilt. You are not in a hurry. There's no destination. Only span, only peace. Near the center of the bridge, the path widens slightly, an overlook. From here, you can see in all directions. The mist begins to clear, and now you see them, other bridges. In the far distance, spanning other valleys, arcing from other heights, each one a thread, a song, a connection. You realize you are not the only one walking tonight, that others are out there, crossing spaces between thoughts, held up by invisible designs, engineers and dreamers, children and architects, people with questions, and people with peace. Somewhere, someone is just now stepping onto their own bridge. Somewhere, another just reached the far side. And you? You are here, in the middle, suspended, held. The wind brushes your face like a soft scarf. The cables hum in harmony with your breath. The bridge sways, but does not fall. And now you sit, right here, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of everything. The bridge doesn't mind. It was built for moments like this. Moments where nothing needs to be solved. No weight needs to be carried, only stillness, only trust. And as your eyes begin to close, you hear one last whisper from the structure beneath you, not in words, but in feeling. It says, you are safe here, you are supported, you are allowed to rest. And you do. Tonight, let's sit for a while beside a drafting table. A soft lamp glows. The hum of fluorescent light above sounds like distant machinery. Papers are spread across the surface, trace lines, smudged pencil work, little notes and careful handwriting. The kind of handwriting that holds equal parts confidence and doubt. This is the workspace of an engineer, and it's quieter than you might think. Before bridges are built, before machines pour concrete or cranes lift towers, there is thought. And behind every line, there's a person. Let's meet them not by name, but by feeling. There's the young graduate, fresh out of university, staring at a blank digital screen. They know the math. They know the code books, but this is real. They hover over a single line. Will this trust be enough? Is that bolt too close to the edge? Will this deck support the pedestrian load if 100 people stand to watch fireworks? They're not scared, but they're attentive. Every click of the mouse is a breath, every measurement a pause. Now meet the seasoned designer, older, slower in movement, but faster in vision. They see problems before they appear. They glance at a curve and already hear it humming in the wind. They read the load like poetry, tension here, compression there, a whisper of uplift on that joint at night when temperatures drop. They speak quietly in meetings, not because they're uncertain, but because they've learned that the best ideas don't shout. Now step outside to the field. There's a bridge inspector walking beneath an aging structure, helmet on, headlamp glowing, one hand brushing along a steel beam as if greeting an old friend. They speak softly to the structure, sometimes even aloud. Still holding, huh? Not bad for 40 years. Just a little wear on that bearing pad will take care of you. They take notes on a clipboard, kneel to measure a gap, and place a gloved hand on the expansion joint, listening, always listening. There's a draftsperson somewhere in a quiet office, adding the finishing touches to a drawing set. Their fingers tap out page numbers. They adjust line weights so they'll print clearly. They've done this for years, and they still double-check every bolt mark. Why? Because someone will use this tomorrow to lay rebar, to order steel, to set forms. And if a number is off by even a fraction, the entire deck may need to be redone. Their precision is a form of love. Then there's the project manager rewriting an email, cross-referencing supplier delivery schedules with weather forecasts. Will the tower be poured before the rain comes? Will the cable drum clear customs? They sip coffee that's gone cold, but they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the bridge they've never touched, but know intimately from meetings, from spreadsheets, from 4 a.m. site calls, and finally, there's you, the dreamer, the listener. The one who wondered tonight how something so massive can sway in the wind and not fall. You've walked across bridges before, in cities, in forests, in dreams, but tonight you saw them. You saw the cables, the joints, the breadth of the structure, and maybe, for the first time, you heard its voice. Bridges are made of materials, yes, but also of people, of choices. Of quiet moments when someone decided to trust steel and time and gravity to work together. The ones who build these structures don't always seek attention. They just want you to get where you're going, safely, quietly, every time. Next, we'll walk through a bridge being born, from first idea to final span. But for now, let yourself rest in appreciation for the minds behind the metal, the hearts behind the math, the hands behind the hum. Every bridge begins with a question. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet voice in a meeting. How do we get across this? A river, a canyon, a busy road, a rail line, a marsh that floods every rainy season. And just like that, the process begins, not with hammers, not with steel, but with silence. Study, listening. Let's follow the steps together. Step by step, steel by sigh. Step 1, site study. Engineers and planners visit the land. They listen to the soil. They measure the wind. They check the depth of the river, the hardness of the bedrock. They don't start designing until they understand what the land is saying. Is it soft clay or fractured limestone? Is the wind seasonal or constant? Does the water rise fast? Where does the sun hit at 5 p.m.? All of it matters. Step 2, conceptual design. In a quiet office, pens begin to move. Or maybe a stylus glides over a digital tablet. Simple arcs are sketched. Cable paths drawn. Do we use an arch here? A suspension system? Maybe a box girder with hidden strength? Ideas are floated like paper boats. Most don't sail far, but one feels right, balanced, possible. It's not final, but it's a beginning. Step 3, calculations now, the numbers arrive. Wind load, live load, seismic coefficients, thermal expansion rates. Thousands of variables folded gently into software and spreadsheets until the idea becomes something measurable. This phase is quiet, often lonely, but full of reverence, because this is where the bridge begins to take its first breath. Step 4, drafting and modeling the design grows clearer. Plans are drawn in layers. Foundations, towers, cables, deck, drainage, lighting. 3D models are created, simulations run. What happens if a truck breaks hard at midspan? What if lightning strikes a tower? What if snow piles unevenly? The bridge answers each question in stillness. And the designers adjust and adjust again. Because perfection isn't an outcome, it's a process. Step 5, review and approval now. The drawings are shared. Passed between hands, eyes, departments. Each person asking, have we thought of everything? Is there access for inspection teams? Are the anchor blocks safe from erosion? Will the bearings need replacement in 20 years? This stage is meticulous. Pages are redlined in red and green. Margins filled with small notes. Add drain slope. Check clearance. Confirm rebar cover. And slowly, what began as a sketch becomes a contract. It is no longer just a bridge. It is a promise. Step 6, construction. It begins not with a tower, but with a footprint. Machines arrive. Workers mark the ground. Excavators dig, not with violence, but with practiced care. Concrete is poured, rebar tied. The first weeks don't look like a bridge at all. Just dirt, steel, mud. But then a pier rises, a tower climbs into the air. Cables begin to stretch like sinew across open sky. Deck segments arrive by barge or truck, each one hoisted delicately into place, bolted, grouted, measured, and the bridge emerges. Step 7, testing and commissioning. Before anyone crosses, the bridge is tested. Heavy vehicles are driven across. Sensors read deflection, vibration, tension. Thermal cameras look for hidden stress. Even wind is simulated. Fans, streamers, motion sensors. checking every hum and shift. Only when the bridge has proven itself, not just in design, but in reality, is it opened. Step 8, opening day. Sometimes there are speeches, ribbons, even parades. But even if there are none, someone will be the first to cross. A single person, a vehicle, a step. And in that moment, the bridge becomes alive. That's the birth of a bridge. Not just a structure, but an agreement between land and sky, between math and feeling, between risk and trust. Next, we'll prepare to close our journey with a quiet reflection about what bridges mean and why they stay with us long after we've crossed them. But for now, close your eyes. Imagine that first quiet crossing and let yourself rest. Between the piers of a dream, bridges do not ask for attention. They don't wave flags or chase headlines. They stand, they carry, they wait. And yet, they are among the most meaningful things we build. They connect more than just land. They connect intention. One side says, I wish to reach you. The other answers, come. That's all a bridge really is, a reply to distance. Even the smallest ones, a plank over a creek, a footbridge through a garden, are gestures of trust. They say, it's safe, step forward. Let's sit with that for a moment. Every bridge is a symbol of forward motion, not haste, not urgency, but the decision to continue carefully, thoughtfully, into what comes next. We cross them at all stages of life. A child's first field trip across a drawbridge, a couple walking hand in hand beneath evening lamps, an engineer returning years later to see their structure still standing. Some crossings are quiet, others unforgettable. Some bridges mark history, places where borders changed, where armies once passed, where peace treaties were signed. Others are entirely personal. Maybe there's a bridge in your life, one that takes you to a friend's house, or back home during holidays, or into a new city filled with possibility. And maybe you never realized how much it held for you until now. Bridges often go unnoticed, and that's their gift. To serve without seeking applause, but sometimes you remember, you pause at the railing, you look out over the water, you breathe in the wind, and in that still moment you realize this is more than concrete. This is grace and tension. You think of what's beneath you, cables, trusses, towers, anchors, all the weight of careful planning, all the silence of forces in balance, and above you only sky. A bridge may not speak, but it teaches. It teaches us that obstacles are not barriers, they're invitations. They say, if you wish, you may cross. They also teach us about balance, how tension needs compression, how sway needs anchoring, how space needs form, and perhaps most beautifully, bridges remind us that the unseen matters. The best part of a bridge is often not what you see, but what lies below. What holds you quietly without being noticed, like the people who taught you, the experiences that shaped you, the dreams that carried you through unseen seasons, all quiet, all powerful, all supportive. And so tonight, as we rest at the edge of this story, know this: you have crossed a great span from thought to design to motion to memory. Not every story needs a loud ending. Some simply taper off into wind, just like a bridge disappearing into the mist, or the soft hum of a cable singing its last note before dawn. And so, we rest. From humming cables to drifting dreams, from wind tunnels to whispered memories, from the first bolt drawn on paper to the final step across misty towers. And here we are on the other side. Maybe you're still awake. Maybe you aren't. Maybe you drifted off somewhere around the Akashi Keikyo, or when the trusses whispered their triangles into stillness. That's all right. The story wasn't just for learning, it was for letting go, for loosening the day's tension the way a cable slowly releases its pull once the load is no longer there. So now let the weight of thought settle. Let your breath find that soft, steady rhythm, like a deck resting gently in perfect balance. If this story helped you drift or soothed a busy mind, I'd be grateful if you tapped like, or subscribed for more quiet crossings. And if you're still awake, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is in your quiet corner of the night. This has been the Drowsy Engineer's Blueprint, where even tension and steel can lead you into rest. Sleep deeply, sleep peacefully, and may your dreams tonight be supported by bridges that never sway and carried by winds that never rush. Good night.